Now, Kenya is set to host an African Science Week in the capital, Nairobi. Actually, that took place earlier. The forum aims to raise awareness of the importance of science and technology, especially amongst young people in the country. It will also serve as an opportunity for stakeholders to foster collaboration around science and technology on the continent. Now, organizers say that with the right investment environment, innovation in Kenya can lead to real economic dividends. Most African countries commit just 1% of their GDP to scientific research and development. Experts say this hampers Africa's ability to transform itself sustainably. Now, the week-long event is a joint initiative by several organizations, including the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences and the Next Einstein Forum. Now, joining me in the studio is Sylvia Mukasa. She's an ambassador at the Next Einstein Forum, one of the organizations hosting the event. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Uche.
Now, like we mentioned, the event took place earlier on, and would like to talk a little bit about what took place there. Now, at the Africa Science Week, you discussed recalibrating innovation in Kenya. First and foremost, do you think this is something that needs to be done in quotes, Africa's Silicon Savannah?
Yes, I actually think not much investment has gone into this. There's been a lot of activity in Nairobi, for example, but the peripheries of the country, other regions, have really not been tapped into. So this investment and areas for incubation need to be spread across the whole country, and the concentration should just not be in Nairobi alone. Yeah.
Which makes sense. And you talked about one of your main aims being fostering discussion and monetary commitments towards research and development in Kenya. Tell me a bit more about what you mean by that.
Okay, like you mentioned earlier, most African countries have not committed a lot in terms of the GDP, in terms of what they put in for investments and for research. South Africa is the only country that has committed 1% of its GDP by 2020. So generally, African countries are lagging behind, Kenya included. And this is why there needs to be this conversation about money going into science and research. And I feel that there's need for this because we need to get money to support some of the innovative ideas and the research that is going on. Without that happening, then very little will be achieved here.
Now, who do you think the onus is on? The private sector, people setting up incubators, the government? Where do you think we need to look to find some of these commitments, for example?
Okay, government is one, private sector is another, and even individuals as well. Because we do find the philanthropists, for example, who are willing to put their money out there. We don't see a lot of philanthropy in Kenya and generally Africa, and yet this is one way of supporting this. Private sector also hasn't put in much, and I think part of the reason is because most of the time they do not see the value to tap into this. So a lot of stakeholders need to play part in this. The general public also has a part to play, and the young people need to reach out to the right people, and universities, for example, need to provide mentors for the young people so that they're able to achieve whatever they're up to because they have people to look up to. Yeah.
Now, tell me more about what you're hoping to achieve with this Africa Science Week. You said your objective is to develop tomorrow's scientists and technologists. So how do you plan to do that?
Okay. First of all, the Africa Science Week was actually the maiden one that the Next Einstein Forum has held. This has never happened before. And so this happened in 13 African countries across all the regions in Africa. And this Africa Science Week is expected to be an annual event, which will cover 3 to 5 days, discussing areas around science, technology, innovation, and mathematics as well. And the Next Einstein Forum hopes that through this, we will be able to tap into this group of stakeholders that we are talking about, private sector and government, and other players as well. By 2018, the Next Einstein Forum expects to hold the Africa Science Week in 30 African countries, and by 2020 all the 54 countries, because we have a presence in all the 54 African countries with an ambassador in each of those countries. So this is how the Science Week will be able to reach out to all the stakeholders that I've just mentioned, and hopefully that will be able to convince private sector and governments that they need to put in the support, be it monetary or through other ways, to ensure that our science and innovation and technology actually thrives in the countries.
Well, many thanks for joining us in the studio and for giving us that update. Of course, that was Sylvia Mukasa. She's an NEF ambassador.